and good evening, everyone. We are back. This is every other week, Retro Roots. So, I am joined once again by PandaSub2000, who's now trying to, I guess, channel a bald Tom Cruise.
Correct. That's exactly what I'm doing.
And Mike Mullins.
Who is not Tom Cruise.
Who's not Tom Cruise.
Neither am I.
So, how are you guys doing tonight?
Good. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right.
You know, I'm doing all right. It's going to be an interesting week. This could either go the full duration or this could be a very short podcast, depending on how work decides to behave. Go ahead and knock on wood because I am on call this week. So it's always sketchy when I do these when I'm on call. Luckily, it doesn't happen all that often.
Oh, hold on. Mazen, for you.
For
you, Mazen.
So we have Ellie in the chat.
Hello, Ellie.
Sneed was in here a little earlier. Scepter is in here. I don't know if they're still
Scepter!
here.
Camaro!
Cam is in the chat. Stampede's in here tonight. Maz and Power is always here. Thank you very much. Back from the
cousin
here as well.
Brother back, cousin born.
So we have tons of people in the chat and more filtering in as we speak. So welcome everybody to the chat. So let's go ahead and do our normal bi-weekly thing and go around the room and see kind of what everybody's been doing. What?
Yeah, can I just stop you for a second?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the glasses off. This is going to get a little serious. Can I be serious for about 1 minute?
Oh,
no.
Shit. Oh, here we
Well,
go.
I mean, I can't do it. Look.
Oh, here we go.
We all know I'm a guy that doesn't like drama. And I'm a guy that likes to have a good time. Right? People have said, boy, that Panda is a good, fun time guy, right?
Actually, I more or less hear, oh, God, Panda's here, the party's over. But that's okay.
Just work with me here and live. Everyone loves Panda, right? Now,
all I keep hearing is, that son of a... Okay, go on.
Yeah,
we're gonna lie.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're going to lie. Look, I got to be honest here. It's been bothering me. As you guys know, I am actually a huge fan of Mr. Matthews, an ex-member of this fantastic podcast. But I have to tell you something. Is he a genius editor? Does he make fantastic content? Is he one of the best YouTubers out there that should have way more subs and views? 100%. But is he a dirty, filthy liar? Yes. I have been sitting on this for too long. Yeah, I've been sitting on this for too long.
What?
That man is a fraud. He has made me. I have been for going on 2 years now doing all of his gameplay. He doesn't actually record a mother effing thing, and I actually brought the receipts tonight because I think grown men should always use the word receipts instead of proof. So I brought the receipts. He sent me. This is actual video footage of the real, genuine Mr. Matthews proving that I'm the one who records his content and reveals a weird fetishy thing of his. Nick, I brought the tape. Please show the genuinely real Mr. Matthews proving.
I really didn't want to go here tonight, but I guess.
Well, the truth must come out.
All right, here we go.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Yes, I'm willing to put it all on the line. All my subs.
You're set to ruin a man's reputation for
He ruined his own reputation when he doesn't even know how to hold a controller properly, and yet he's going out there saying he's Mr. Mega Man. Well, I've got the proof.
Oh my god.
And
all
so
right,
I'll say this before you play it. The only way I see of rectifying this is that he has to actually come back on the show and prove me wrong. That's the only way it'll work. What he can't do is make some lame video of me saying I love Disney or something, and that won't work. He needs to come back on the show. Roll the tape, Nick. You'll see what I don't
know. I feel like putting you and Mickey Mouse here is saying you love Disney.
Well, don't worry. He's probably going to do that after this video.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Fraud.
Hey, Panda, when you get a chance, can you call me back, please? It's pretty urgent. I'm playing Mega Man, and I don't know how to get past the title screen. I can't let the gaming community find out that I've never played a video game in my life. As you know, my true passion is My Little Pony. I love those dolls so much. I love how they make me feel like a graceful princess. Damn it. I just want to be a pony princess and glitter off into the sunset, but there's no YouTube audience for that. So when you get a chance, Panda, can you please record more gameplay for me? After all, PandaSub2000 is the greatest YouTube sensation this world has ever seen. Okay, I'm going to dress as a pony now and smother my body in hot glitter. Thanks, man. I owe you big time. Keep it sparkly, bitches. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Ninja Turtles suck. Phantom Menace was a masterpiece. And always buy digital over physical. Matthews out. Kisses, honey bitches.
That was hard to watch. The truth is hard.
That was so much pain. That was
God.
That was a lot painful.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
I can't believe he said Ninja Turtles suck.
I
Matthews.
didn't know he was Canadian.
Yeah, and he
Matthews.
loves digital. I'm afraid,
Matthews.
Mr. Matthews, the only way you can clear a name is to come back on your rightful seat, your rightful throne on this show. That's the only way I see you could ever.
I am devastated.
It's pretty hard, right?
I am absolutely.
Mr. was saying what we're all
devastated.
thinking here. And Paste also had no idea that he was Canadian.
Well, that's another lie. Another dirty, filthy lie from Mr.
As a did in being a pony lover.
He's a huge pony lover.
Stacy, oh my God.
I don't know what to say.
I'm
Keep it sparkly, bitches. I mean, I didn't even know he talked like that.
I feel like some of these are revelations to Stacy, and that makes me sad.
There are hard conversations to be had.
There are
everywhere.
Difficult conversations to be had now.
I am
every angle.
I am absolutely stunned.
I'm shocked.
I am stunned. I'm so
devastated. Really.
Ninja Turtles suck.
I don't know where to go with this. Yeah, Mazin's devastated. See, he's disappointed. We're all disappointed, sir. We're all disappointed.
This is.
See, she knew nothing about the ponies.
And yet, that's only
which means she might have known about the game.
Oh, she probably.
Maybe she's been having to cover for some of his gameplay too.
I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I'm thinking we should probably just cut the show over. I don't know how we continue. Yeah.
and suddenly hit you with the pony lover story arch. I know.
Keep it sparkly, bitches. Did you guys even know he talked like that? I mean, and that is 100%.
I feel like this is a conversation that you need to have with Stacy off the stream because I feel like this is going to get weird.
I feel like it's weird now.
I mean, you guys saw him talking. That was video proof of obviously, clearly him talking. So
I saw that.
You saw it. You saw
it. Stacy, did you know Rob was Canadian? I didn't know he was Canadian.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't want to interrupt.
That was a revelation too. He's been hiding it really well this whole time.
I am so sorry to have brought this to the attention of so many fans.
Stacy's. Oh, it's weird now.
I'm so sorry. He's a good guy, though. He's talented. I mean, just keep that in mind before you break up with him. Just keep that in mind. He's talented, good-looking guy. Just let it slide under.
I'm half expecting him to pop up backstage at some point.
I can't.
I knew he has to leak.
I can't believe he said that about
Ninja Turtles.
I'm hurt by that.
Guys, if you can, just put a number 1 if you're going to unsubscribe from Mr. Matthews, or put the number 2 if you plan on unsubscribing from Mr. Matthews. Just
what's
one
up,
or two
DJC? Good to see you, man.
How you doing,
Chuck?
Who are these degenerates?
Chuck.
You're every other week podcast, sir.
Did you hear, Chuck? Did you hear this shit about Matthews?
Language, Mike.
Ninja Turtle. You have shook it. I am shaken to the core.
I apologize.
I am absolutely. I quit YouTube.
Phantom Menace, the best movie? Well, I mean, of the prequels, that may be arguably correct, but
of the prequels, Return of the Sith, Revenge of the Sith.
No.
Oh, come on, that saber battle between.
Oh, that's
it was
the
not
worst acting.
Matthews loves Phantom Menace.
Piece of film. Until you get to 7, 8, 9, and then there's plenty of stuff that blows that out of the water as far as trash goes.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt, Nick. Get back to the show. I just hope that we can all carry on as human beings. I got to be honest. There was several minutes.
You're uninterested. Okay. Matthews used to be a member of this panel, by the way, Vinny. If you haven't seen his content, you probably should. It's really, really good.
One of the best content creators out there is. Period. He's the most creative. He does incredible work. Some of the best game documentaries out there. Definitely check him out and sub to him because he's about to lose his wife and friends. He's going to need all the support he can.
Absolutely.
So make sure you definitely subscribe to that fraud. Okay.
Man, I mean, this could be the matzah talking, but I'm. Oh my God.
We'll see him on next week. Anyway, Nick.
By the way, Matzah Pillsbury Doughboy is nightmare fuel. That is terrible. That is
was that not? That was fantastic. You don't
it's
know.
just nightmare fuel.
That was so funny.
So terrible.
I forgot where I found that. I forgot where I found that picture. Do you have it somewhere you can show people? It was so funny.
I do not. I just remember
Hold on.
seeing it and going, I need to talk to Mike about that. Oh my God, is that nightmare fuel?
Hold on, I'll get it. I tweeted it out. I'll get it for you.
What are we talking? We're talking about matzo now.
I posted.
Boy,
it's
Yeah,
a
hang on.
side
Hang
topic
on.
from Lake Passover.
Hang on.
Oh,
I'm
happy
finding it.
Passover, Mike.
So
Thank
we
you.
we do have a topic, at least one topic for you guys tonight.
Yes.
Whenever we get to that,
What is that topic, Nick?
cheat codes.
Cheat code.
Cheat code.
Yes. Favorite ones? Would you like to see him come back? How would you like to see him come back? That kind of thing. What games would you like to see him come back in? That kind of thing. And I'm frozen or something again.
Yeah, you're slow
Awesome.
and then you're speeding up. I feel like I'm taking.
Yeah, I'm having my own Max Headroom moment again. I'm gonna have to do something with the with my cam link. I think it's
That's really
having
weird.
issues. Do what?
Well, however you're feeling, Nick, just at least you don't go to BronyCon. So, like, at least you have that going for
you. Yeah.
Wink.
All right, hold on. Let me see here. Here's
Things
the-
were fine, and then I played your video, and then everything went downhill.
I'm just shocked.
Okay, here we go. All right, let me pull this up on this screen, and then
This was my happy Easter message to everybody.
yeah, this stuff's nightmare fuel. This is
you.
Can you make it any bigger?
I'd have to hold on. Let me see if I can download it. Save images. Sure, we'll just save it there, and then give me a second to open up the file. I have to download it in order to do that because it's in the browser, and the browser's not real
Okay.
keen on zooming.
So
Do you want me
So
to tell some
basically-
jokes
all right.
while we're okay?
there you go. So well, that didn't work. Oh, there you go.
It'll work. I just have to zoom.
So-
once I open up the file, I have to zoom. Give me a second. So impatient.
All right, I want to know. I want to know who else in the chat gets this reference.
Oh no, I get the reference.
Yeah, I get it.
I know what matzah is when I see matzah. It's just still nightmare fuel.
I think it's funny. I think that will be.
Oh, it's
things that-
funny. It's just nightmare fuel.
as it comes up on your bed and walks up to you. Oh my
Flash
goodness!
manipulating the speed force. Yeah.
I had a feeling.
Yeah. I'm moving
That's
kind of
right.
weird.
Cheat codes.
Yeah. So
Cheat
we're gonna remove this.
codes.
There we go. Okay. Maybe my camera will catch up again. I'm definitely channeling Matthews the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna have to do something about that. Probably time to buy a new cam link. All my Elgato stuff dies occasionally.
Absolutely.
So you're using because you're using an actual camera.
Yeah, I use an actual digital camera, so I know it's not the camera.
'Cause-
There's no way it's the camera.
right
Like,
because
no.
Panda Nick is better than us, so he uses a
Correct.
real camera.
I already had DSLRs, and I just decided to use a cam link because it was cheaper than buying a webcam, and it let me use my digital camera.
No, that's why they made it.
Yes.
But you see how well it works. It works so
It
well.
worked great for years.
Works
This
so
thing's been
well.
running for years. Literally.
Cheat
years.
codes.
Cheat codes. Okay, slow-mo historian. Yes. So, basically, the topic tonight was to go into like some of our favorite cheat codes, new cheat codes, anything like that. So, if the chat has any suggestions or any ones that you're particularly fond of, Game Genie also counts here. If that came back, how would you like to see that come back? Would it be like maybe a flash drive that plugs into the front of the unit through USB or something like that? And how would that be implemented? So we thought that would be an interesting one to go into. There's some obvious 8-bit examples, like the famous Konami code that I put on the thumbnail, right, which works with both Life Force and Contra. That honestly, I feel like they probably should have put in some more of their games. It would have been nice to have that in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, for example.
Hey Nick, before you were like you were really challenging yourself with Contra, when you would put the code in, typically how many lives would you go through to complete the game?
Oh God, sometimes I'd go over 30 and have to continue.
Really?
Yeah.
I was always around 10.
I was very, very, very bad at Contra.
Okay.
And probably am now because I haven't run Contra in a long time. I'd probably get back up to speed on it after probably 7 or 8 runs. But yeah, it would be a rough go right now after, I'd say probably right around stage 3, maybe stage 5. It would start getting really rough. Stage 1 and 2 are kind of not that hard for me to do for the most part now. Stage 3 gets tricky, particularly when you start getting near the top. There's a couple of tricky spots there. And then the boss can kind of catch me off guard a couple times. Stage 4 is usually not too bad, except for the boss. That boss can be an absolute nightmare.
The only boss,
ready for it.
I forgot which boss it is, but the one that I was always the worst at was that jumping dude. That jumping man guy.
Oh, you're thinking of the one on stage 5 that throws like the little disc and jumps around?
Yeah, like he looks like the Krang guy.
Yeah, you basically just have to really just blitz on him with anything you have as fast as you can.
Yep.
And just jump. Yeah. So yeah, he can be a little bit tricky.
Because I found the last boss to be a lot easier compared to...
Yeah, the last boss I kind of got lazy with because I had like 9 lives, so I lost like 3 on that one, right? Because I always got killed once there trying to get rid of all the little face hugger things. Yeah. I kept getting hit by one of those because I never could find that sweet spot to mostly miss them.
Yep.
And ended up getting killed once, and after that, I was just like, okay, I've got like 9 lives here. Let's just burn. And if there's no way there should be no way I burn through all 9 before I kill this thing.
Right.
Just spam the fire button and pray. Very first cheat code I can remember was using a lot of the Contra code. Akari Warriors close behind. ABBA, that's right. Because didn't that like just immediately respawn you the ABBA code? And next ones are Doom. Yeah, Doom. A lot of people use IDDQD.
Yep.
IDKFA, I don't remember as much. Wasn't that like a
I don't
code?
remember that one.
I don't think there were any Sonic cheat codes that I know of.
Really? That seems like I would at least have like a...
It's not Sonic CD. Now, there were some... I think there's some in other Sonics, but they weren't very popular. Like, I ended up looking up some cheat codes, and apparently there is one for, like, Sonic the Hedgehog that I didn't even know about. Before we get to that, though, Big Block said his first cheat code was holding down the reset button when you powered up Space Invaders. 2600 get double
was
shot.
that a cheat, or was that like or was that like an exploit? Like, was that kind of a...
I don't know.
Like a glitch?
I don't know. It's kind of a good question.
I only asked the best questions. I was actually voted the best question asker by my high school.
I feel like that's wrong. I feel like
it's
that's
very wrong.
Before you'd slap a cheat code in for Big Head Mode, now you pay $2.99.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
El said the best cheat codes were the ones for shareware because you could basically use cheat codes to make them the full version. I didn't even think about that, but I guess
it's called a fake credit card. Is the cheat code
yeah, there is that. Cheat codes, the first Mr. Mather Pony Lover video. Cheat codes.
Oh, I'm so happy this is catching on.
First, we talk about Game Pass. Oh my word! Hey, Amused, how's it going, man? You just bought the Contra collection on sale. Had all of them back day, other than the Genesis one, which you just played through that, and the King of Monkey ending is hilarious.
How did you like Amused? How did you like Hardcore?
I like Hardcore.
Did you guys find that Super C was like 40 times harder than the first one, or is it
Super C looks... I haven't really dug too deep into Super C.
I haven't either.
It looks about 40 times harder.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. And plus, you only have 10. I think the cheat could only give you 10.
Stage gets kind of ridiculous. The enemies are relentless in that game. Oh, look who's here. Look who's here.
You've got Matthews. There's only one way you can redeem yourself. You're going to have to come on and explain yourself. That's the only way. Sorry, that's literally it.
I was originally a little nervous about doing that one, Matthews, but it was way too funny when I saw it, so I had to. Hardcore is the best Contra game, hands down. I find Super C harder, but I'm basically pro level Contra 1. Honestly, I every time I see Super C, it actively looks more punishing.
It's
got a few quality of life niceties with some of the power ups. I think are a little bit nicer than the original Contra, because Contra basically you could use the fire, but it was okay, but it was mostly spread shot or nothing for the most part. I mean, you could work with the others, but you really didn't want to. I don't have cat fight, so no cat fight. I don't like those games that have cheat codes that don't allow you to actually finish the game, such as Iron Man, XO, Man of War, Batman Forever, PS1.
Yeah, that's lame.
Yeah, I don't. Cheat codes to me, kind of like the way we did then. Partly why this one came up is because we were talking about this last week, well, week before last, and talking about like one of the things we'd like to bring back forward from retro games was cheat codes, because there was a ton of them back in the day. Or even just game genie to be able to make yourself invincible, or to add, like, you could even make the difficulty harder. Things like that on games that didn't have a difficulty level setting. Add more lives, give yourself all the weapons, give yourself weapons that may not necessarily be accessible in the game, that kind of thing. Yeah. Because they can just kind of rework the code.
Like add blood to Mortal Kombat, the Sega Genesis.
Right. Well, yeah, you had to do that on the Genesis even. Because by default, they had it turned off. So you had to key in the code for that to even have that on Mortal Kombat 1. Now, everybody pretty much did away with that too. Ever. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a silly one to have a cheat code for. I understood it at the time because there was all the rigmarole going around with the ESRB and all that kind of forming and Night Trap and all that other stuff going on. So people were kind of really tense. And they randomly get that way again and again and again. And video games linking to violence is another topic we could probably cover at some point.
Well, there was
a like that I kind of consider it bogus, but that's just me.
I had actually, when we were going to talk about cheat codes, there are a couple of cheat codes that I used to use back in the day, and there was one in particular. I don't think it works. At least I wasn't able to. I can't make it work on like the OG Xbox version because there's no keyboard. But there was in the Jedi Knight series. This was really cool. Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, actually had a code. You went in. You went into like a debug menu and you typed in. It was like, "Help me, Obi-Wan." Something like that. Yeah. And you unlocked a lightsaber that actually dismembered people. Like you just chopped off limbs. You chopped off limbs, you cut off heads. It was hilarious.
See, stuff like that is more what I'm talking about. I mean, it's nice to have those to make the games more accessible for more people as well, right? But you can do that through like difficulty settings and other tweaks and things like that they can add into the game. And it doesn't, and the developer can do that, so it doesn't really mess with their main vision of what their content to look like or to feel like.
Right.
But being able to do goofy stuff like the dismemberment and things like that, or unlocking big head mode and
unlocking Bill Clinton.
Right, or I think Hillary was in there too at one point. There was a bunch of like goofy stuff in there that
Will Smith.
See, I don't know why they can't at the very least, like, okay, fine, I can accept that you made this game and you want it to be played a certain way. Okay, but it should be that at least if you beat it, then you can put in codes. Like, okay, you played it, you beat it, now have fun with it. Now you should be able to
It adds more life to the game. On top of DLC, it makes you want to hang on to the game longer, because that's one of the reasons that they start to do DLC and separate things out, is because they really wanted people to hang on to the games longer, because they didn't want people. It's kind of like we went back to like video game rentals in a whole new era. That instead of having Blockbuster, we had GameStop, right? So people were beating games in like a day or two, and then they were trading them in, getting a lot of credit for them, and then buying another game. Mm-hmm. Well, I think a lot of developers caught wise to that as things like Blockbuster and stuff like that started to fade out and went, God, we have this problem again. Well, what we'll do is we'll plan like DLC for it, have it come out a couple weeks to a couple months. So people will hang on to the disc longer. so that we don't lose as many of those initial sales, right? And GameStop's not making all the money. Because it's initially kind of what was happening. I really feel like that was one of the key reasons that the console really started adapting like DLC, right?
Right.
Because by that time, it seemed like PC had almost fully gone digital or was pretty close to going digital already. So resale wasn't really there, right? And that's another reason that they kind of want to get rid of physical. And another, for another
one of
aspect
many
is-
reasons why I want to get rid of
Right.
physical, yeah.
Right.
And we could when I know we've talked to like digital versus physical before, but
Mhm.
we could have another. There's plenty of discussions to be had on that.
Oh, sure.
But
And it's also a futile conversation because we're guaranteed to lose, those of us who want physical.
oh yeah, absolutely, and
But-
it'll end up going fully digital at some point on console. Console's like the last
Oh,
bastion
guaranteed.
of physical media, and that's quickly going away. And honestly, it's getting worse and worse now too. That was another topic that we didn't bring up. That I'm going to go and put that on my notes because I didn't do note dummies last time. Talked about this stuff being physically removed off stores and stuff like that.
You know, Nick, I didn't want to. It's so. I just realized that you have a Ninja Turtle background. I'm wondering if
I
that's
do.
I wonder if that's triggering Matthews right now. I mean, that's
It might be.
Might
It
be
might
triggering
be.
him.
You never
All
know.
right, okay.
I mean, we all know he hates the Ninja Turtles.
He
so,
hates them
I mean,
so
All right.
much.
He hates them.
That's a documented fact now. That's a documented
I mean,
fact, unfortunately.
That came out of his separated mouth.
It's so weird.
clearly him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So a few cheat codes
Yeah,
that Vinny
paste.
brought up one that adds like turbo mode to Street Fighter.
Uh-huh. Yep. But then
before
paste-
before they had the turbo edition apparently.
Well, and then so I thought he was talking actually about Street Fighter Turbo. Okay, I got it. But
Was there
that
a turbo
was a
code
good,
for Street Fighter? Yeah, and I know there was a turbo edition of Street Fighter, but I didn't know that
There
a
was,
turbo
and there was a-
code.
There's a code for Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo that unlocks Akuma as a playable character. That was
Yep.
a big code back in the day.
Yeah, I could see that being a big deal. Akuma is still to this day very broken, but he was especially broken then.
Yep.
Interesting what Nintendo will do with it. Will go with their physical medium. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I think
hoping-
it'll be a lot when we see this new console of theirs, whatever that is. That'll take.
Yeah,
everything.
I'm kind of curious
Yeah.
to see where they go with their next console because the Switch was so popular. I don't know if they're just going to do another revision of the Switch, or if they're going to do something completely off the wall. Because Nintendo has always notoriously been one to go radically against the grain and oftentimes shoot themselves in the foot. They're just known for doing this kind of thing.
Their next console is gonna be the first console ever to not have graphics. It's just gonna be a black screen.
It's going to be an Etch-a-Sketch.
Yep.
Is what it's going to be.
Yep. We're Nintendo. Accept it.
The cheat codes cause a rift between.
There's no
people.
rift between. I think Mr. Matthews is one of the most talented people out there. I've said this over and over. It's him that's been lying to all of you. So you got to talk to him. All right, not me.
Yeah, GTA 3 used to have a bunch of cheat codes.
Well, I think, as we kind of mentioned before, I think that the GTA 5 is, to me, what a bunch of malarkey, if you ask me, that didn't have cheat codes. It has them, but you can only use it for like 3 minutes or something, 5 minutes, which is lame. Again, if you
Yeah,
beat the
you're
game,
honestly-
put the codes in.
Honestly, this is going to sound very PC Master Race, but the best place to play GTA is on PC now. Because
Right,
you
but
can
that's
do mods.
Right, but I'm saying it should have been from that should have been from the developers that they allowed. Their games are famous for these cheat codes. So
Yeah,
then to
I know,
deny
but
it-
since they didn't do them, the community did them. That's why I
Right.
feel like PC is the best place to play that game.
Well,
if
that's
you want
where
to have fun
mods-
with like cheats, because you can do mods that basically do the same thing.
Right.
yeah,
I mean, mods were so. All right. Do you put mods in the same bucket as cheat codes though? Because
No.
there are some things that, and I'll give you a great one. So we talked about we briefly touched on Doom earlier, right? And the IQDD whatever code, but modding Doom on the PC got you so much cool stuff. Like I had the Simpsons mod where instead of you being Doom Marine, you were Homer and your weapon was throwing donuts, you know. But those were things that didn't change the nature of the game, but changed all the look and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
no.
even some companies that allow for mods. Like
Yes.
I think like CD Projekt Red is doing that, especially with Cyberpunk now.
They started, some games let you do that even on console, because I think, was it Skyrim that did that?
I think
for a bit?
Bethesda
Still does
allows that, I think.
Yeah, and they
And
have
it-
like a menu of ones that have
Yes.
kind of cleared past them.
And I think
that
that's
you
a
can
great
load
idea.
up.
Yeah,
Which is great, because
that
it
on
makes
console.
it more fun for console. The console players can kind of get on some of that fun.
And it gives you your game now has a lifespan of eternity. Like it just keeps on going, you know?
Right.
A console with a black screen, are we reinventing Odyssey? Maybe, sir. Maybe. Yeah, Skyrim. Yeah, I think Skyrim even does that on console, which is
I think it does, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good question. I am not sure.
I'm pretty sure it does.
No, mods, I don't consider mods the same as cheat codes, but it's a way of you having similar fun with a game and just having that kind of power fantasy, or doing something radically different with it that cheat codes would do for consoles, and still being able to kind of have that fun. Are they the same thing? No, absolutely not. But it's probably the closest you have right now, because there's nothing the equivalent to Game Genie. There's very few actual codes, unless you count stuff like the Lego games or Doom Eternal, that you could grab these discs hidden in the stages, and those would enable things like invincibility, unlimited BFG ammo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you could mix and match those, right?
Saints Row is good for it. Saints Row always has good.
Yeah, Saints Row. I don't remember too many of them in 4. I don't think I really used them. But then,
yeah, they're all there.
But I mean, Saints Row 4. By the time you got far enough in that game, that whole game was a cheat code.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
like it was straight up. It straight up got broken. It was a huge power fantasy trip.
Yep.
Once you got far enough in the game, like the chances of you dying were ridiculously low.
Let me ask you this: what do you guys?
Hey, Marty.
Look, it's Marty. What do you guys really think is the reason why they don't do cheat codes anymore? It's got to be DLC and paying, right? Like, what do you think the real reason is? They were there forever.
I think that's part of it.
I don't know.
And like, why wouldn't you?
I think part of it is they want to be able to sell you this stuff, for one.
Mm-hmm.
2, it's extra work for them to program it in.
Is it? You're just giving.
Depending on what it is.
I mean the cheat code. The cheat code.
Hi, poop, scoop, and boogie. Hi, welcome.
You know, you attract all kinds here on the Geekstorian channel.
You know, it's an open channel, but you know, people come in, they have a good time. That's cool.
If I ever have a kid, Poop Scoopins is its name. I hope you don't mind, Poop Scoopins.
Did Super Seducer have cheat codes?
No, actually, I think they sold extra content, so they have almost something. I believe some kind of equivalent that you can purchase and stuff. But
yeah, the Justin Bailey code was a great code.
Oh yes, the one from. Metroid.
And there was another one that basically I think just spawned Ridley or something like that. It was like, I don't know, it was some sort of like curse word.
What's up, zombie?
Kind of cheat code. The cheat code. The point thing is cheat codes weren't always. I didn't always make the game easier. Sometimes they made the game harder.
Yeah, well, sometimes there's cheat codes to make it harder. Like there's plenty of those.
Right, and that was the point.
Yeah.
Could have used a cheat code earlier in Metropom, gussing up a storm with a boss battle that I got there. Was that the gigantic space pirate thing?
Have you
played like visors?
Have you played Prime Remastered?
I need to get to it. I've got the physical copy of it, but I haven't started it yet.
Okay, that game it's gorgeous. What they did on that console, it feels next gen. I don't want to oversell it here, but it's really impressive what they did. It's visually gorgeous, and it plays like a dream now.
I've not seen this.
So we all know what Chuck has been doing on his spare time. He is just making 50 accounts.
Yes, he is. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, Nick. I didn't mean to overtalk.
There's been like seven or eight of his accounts pop in tonight. So yes, absolutely, he has.
I'm sorry, Nick. You were saying.
No, I played a few minutes of the remastered Metro Prime at a friend's house before I had gotten my copy of it, and it runs great.
Mm-hmm.
My only problem that I had is it didn't really seem to matter how I tweaked it. like there comes a point where you're scanning left and right or up and down on the right analog, and all of a sudden it just starts to like move really fast. Like, and I'm not sure why, because it's kind of like slow, and then it sort of like speeds up. And I know you can use a target lock, which is more traditional Metroid, but it feels.
I have not had that problem.
It feels
I'm wondering,
a little funky.
That seems like your friend's controller is drifting or something. Like,
Maybe,
I didn't have
I don't
that
know.
problem.
There's the devastating Just Cause.
Wow.
The 40th account tonight.
It is even stuck with
It's okay
40
as long as
accounts
they
for
all hit the like button, you're good.
See, and honestly, Brian, that's where I tapped out when I played it originally on the GameCube. I had just gotten off of playing Halo, which was my first experience into dual analog. And so I was kind of slogging through Prime in the first place. And I say slogging through it because after you've used a dual analog control setup, trying to play Prime is very frustrating, having a single analog stick.
Right.
You can use the Z button to aim, but it was very annoying to have to use the Z button to aim to do all the stuff and then having to flip all the different visors to be able to see the guys so you could hit them with the right beam and then go back and break off another piece of armor and do all this stuff. And mechanically just got to the point where I was so irritated at what I was having to do and not having any luck with it. I'm like, you know what? I'm out. You've overcomplicated this fight to the point where you've killed every single ounce of fun I was having with the game right here. And I stopped. And honestly, Doom Eternal almost did that too.
Oh, that game from minute one.
Yeah, they made those. They separated all the mechanics that were really tightly balanced in the first one. I felt like, and separated them. And I found that made it for a more challenging experience and in some ways interesting. But I also found it added too much complexity to what I thought was a really streamlined shooter.
Yeah, like Doom is not supposed to be that much. Well, I didn't look at it as a game where you had to do all this thinking and planning, and if I remember right, you had like each enemy had to do a different thing with, and it was like
you had to hit certain weak spots and stuff like that to disable certain things. That way you could limit their damage. You didn't have to do that, but you did more damage if you did do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd have to like torch somebody to be able to get armor back. You'd have to like gory punch somebody to be able to get health back. You'd have to do something else to get you have to chainsaw to get your ammo back. They severely limited the ammo more than they did in the first one. So you're swapping weapons more, which was done intentionally. So you had to experiment with more of the weapons. But it just caused this weird kind of chaotic dance. Some people adored, and I found to push the border a little bit too much out of the scope of what I considered fun. I still really enjoyed the game, and I plan to go back through it at some point so I can be more up to speed to
Doom VR. DLC. That is a fun time.
I haven't played the VR. Didn't they call it like Doom VFR or something like that?
Yeah. No, listen, the first 30 minutes of that game, the main thing you're trying to get over is how much vomit is on your rug. But after you get used to vomiting everywhere and you get used to being in a Doom fast frenetic game of Doom in VR, it's a lot of fun.
Now, I need to try more things in VR. I spend a lot of time at Beat Saber in VR.
Yeah, I need
because I use it as like a substitute for cardio on some days, right?
So by the way, the IDKFA cheat for Doom was, I just found it. It was getting all the weapons, health, armor, and keys.
Okay. Apparently, Sonic had one.
Sonic had a debug. Sonic had a debug mode. It didn't have a cheat. It had a debug where you could like spawn things on the screen and kind of go. You could take Sonic and go up in the air and go kind of all around the playfield.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what this is talking about. What struck me as weird. I'm like, wait a minute.
Mike, do you find it sacrilegious that there's not a Sonic Maker?
Oh, like a Mario Maker? Yes, because that is a gold mine for Sega. Do you know how much that would how popular that would be?
Yeah. I thought a Zelda Maker would be a good idea too, and
it would be a good one.
A little bit in the remaster of Link's Awakening because you could make custom dungeons in there, but they never really fleshed it out into anything new. But honestly, I've seen a lot of videos lately of people playing Mario Maker, and there's a lot of broken stuff in Mario Maker that can basically almost turn out to be like cheats. because you can add things and remove things in certain sequences to where it just breaks certain things in the game to where you can either pass through them or you can do these certain things. And people use them in troll levels to do weird things in the level, right?
Okay.
So there's some really cool stuff in there, but it's also so complicated that Nintendo didn't really know how to make it to where it wasn't really kind of very broken.
Right.
And the more people mess with making stages, the more stuff they find is broken, right? Because they've had more exposure to it. So the people that are still really playing it and still really messing with it are really starting to finally come to grips with just how broken it is fundamentally as a game, which is both the best time and the worst time for the game for a lot of these people, because it's when they had the most fun and the most frustration out of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the second one sold all that well, so I think they might be done with like the Maker series for the most part, at least for a while. I don't know, but we kind of went way off topic with like cheat codes. This kind of just become shenanigans at this point, which is fine. I'm okay with shenanigans.
Well, I think we all agree. Well, Mike, I think you would agree that cheat codes is a wonderful value to add to the game, and even if you wanted to add it after you beat the game, you see no downside to that. Correct?
I see no downside, and I don't even think you should have to wait till after the game is done. If you're why? So if I don't understand why.
Well, I can play devil's advocate to that. I'm with you, by the way. I agree with you. My devil's advocate to that, okay, is you made okay. Absolutely. Here's a great example. Mike, you could, let's say you made a film, right? You made this like artistic masterpiece film and you put it out there. You want people to watch it, right? You probably don't want people to get high watching it and then start laughing at your masterpiece because they're laughing at something on the wallpaper in the background. But I say people bought their ticket, let them do whatever the hell they want with it. If they want to get high while watching your film, great. So the devil's advocate here is that I understand that a developer is saying, look, we put our soul into this game. We wanted to give you an experience. By putting a code in, you break that experience, and there's a chance that you may not even like it because maybe you're overpowered and you go like, this game is boring now. When really, if you had played it normally, it would have been fine. That would be the devil's advocate response to it. But I'm with you.
I have a devil.
You bought it. Who cares?
I have an angel's advocate to that.
Oh, look at this. Okay, I like it.
That is still your choice. You're the one who put the code in. You don't have to put the code in.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. The thing is, though, is
the problem is we know the culture we live in now, and where people are going to put blame in for their choices.
Yeah, it's like now, like, oh, this game is kind of boring. I'm overpowered, or whatever it is. Or in the case of that movie scenario, they may go, boy, this movie is boring because they're high as AF, and they didn't get to enjoy it. But I say, look, you bought it. It's yours now. Well, technically, and do whatever you want with it.
That's right. I
mean, I'm with you. I'm not.
I think.
No, I know you're not.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I don't understand the hesitant. I think if you give people that choice and they take it, that's not the developer's fault. This goes back to the whole conversation about whether Elden Ring should have had an easy mode, right? Or Souls games should have an easy mode. I get why the developer might say, no, this is how I want you to play it, but at the same time, do you want to piss on everybody who might want to play it in easy mode? I don't, so anyway.
There's certain games that I feel like are cool for cheat codes, and some that I kind of agree with where they left it. The Souls series, as much as I kind of have more of a hate relationship than a love relationship with them, I understand it. Because they really want that game to be like a hardcore game. They don't want to add easy modes or anything like that into it, because that's the experience, the full experience they envisioned, right? That's where they want that game series to go. And that's where the core of their base wants.
Is there any value after you? I've not played them. So Nick, when you beat them, is there
I haven't beaten one, so I couldn't tell you, but go ahead.
Okay. Are you aware of that in any of the games that when you're done, that is there any reason to go back to it?
There's plenty of people that go back and play them.
They do.
I've literally watched people teach their cat to beat some of the bosses on a Dance Dance Revolution pad.
Okay.
I've seen some stupid stuff. I've watched people beat the game with a Guitar Hero controller. Like, just ridiculousness. Just because they love the game, they love the experience, they go back to it again and again and again. It's just they like that experience. So yeah, there's for a certain group of people, there's a large amount of replayability for these games.
Okay.
For me, I don't know that there would be. I think I would beat it, and I would be so exhausted with it that I would never pick it up again. Right.
See, I know I've played games, and unfortunately I can't think of any, but I know for a fact there has been games where they'll offer an easy, and when you hit easy, it'll say a message comes up from the developer saying, listen, we made this game, we put our heart and soul into this game to be played as normal. Are you sure you want to play this version of it? And I'm like, I understand that, but I'm happy they gave me the choice.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And some of them get described as, if you just want to look at the story and you don't actually want to play the game, pick the story. I think I would do it the way id Software used to do it. If you picked easy mode,
they made fun of you.
Yeah. BJ,
they put
BJ
a little bonnet and a pacifier in your mouth on the easiest mode.
Don't hurt me, daddy. Yeah, or don't hurt. That do that. Shame. But if you still pick it, that's your choice. Godspeed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Go even further and make your primary weapon some sort of like overpowered pacifier or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Something silly. Like something that would be embarrassing to use, but you can play it. It's fine. You can beat the game. You can see the story.
Your final, like the final screen, your final cut screen or whatever it is at the end of the game, if it's on easy, is different than what it is if you played it on normal, and it could even be rude and condescending to you, Sister Carla.
I think the code should be "I pay for sex." I think that would be a proper.
So I do want to make one statement on what you said earlier, Panda, and then I want to get to Zombies questions. I've had it up here for a while because it's a good question.
So get to it.
I think in part, a lot of cheat codes have gone by the wayside because I think the industry grew up too much.
Okay.
There's some developers that still have a laugh at themselves and they'll give you stuff and like silly things, but you really got to work your butt off for them. Like Dead Space, when you beat it on like the very hardest difficulty, you get a foam finger where he says pew pew pew, and it just like decimates everything. Right. By the time I got that, I wouldn't want that. I would be so done with that game because I've beaten it like 4 times that I would never use it. Right. But it's at least them having a little fun with their game.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like developers, as have gotten in and have made these huge epic stories and these big grandiose worlds, and they put all this time into it, they don't have that sense of playful fun that they had in the earlier years with like the 32-bit and below.
Right. That's a good point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like games grew up and got very serious, and it's a really serious industry now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of these codes that we all found fun and endearing kind of went by the wayside, in part because the industry is just taking itself to this level to where it's, one, they're so busy and burnt out, they don't want to try to add it in. And 2, they're probably not being allowed to have that fun with it because nobody's going to okay it going into the game because, well, why are you poking fun at this thing that we spent, billions and millions of dollars on, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a serious business. Like treat it like a business, right?
Yeah.
Instead of having fun with it. So I think that's where some of it.
It's all for artistic purposes.
Right. It's not part of our artistic vision or whatever, and people just aren't. Big head mode wouldn't be in like an NBA Jam today unless it was a throwback.
See, I think you're right, but I think there's something to do with like trophies and achievements because it was around that time that all the
then
codes went
disable
away.
those when you're using certain cheats.
Well, I agree, but I kind of think because it happened right around that time, and I don't know if they were scared of exploits where you could cheat and get these achievements.
That might be, but there's still cheats and exploits in pretty much every game. But
I agree.
Zombie has a question here. Do you prefer button combinations for cheat codes or typing in an actual cheat code like in a game or on a Game Genie?
Ooh.
And honestly, I kind of don't mind either one of them. I even don't mind like doing like a creator mode on some of the games to spawn things or do certain things either. Because going to like the command line thing is where you type in like the IDDQK or whatnot for God mode on Doom, right?
Hmm.
So you had to have a little bit of knowledge to be able to execute it, but once you did, you could execute it every time, no problem, and then just have fun. I think both of those, in my opinion, work, and I even like being able to get the collectibles. Like you go into all the hidden areas in a Lego game and you pick up like one of the red bricks that either gives you a 2x modifier, 4x modifier, or some other ridiculously super ability like, triple jump or super jump or something just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Because Telltale was one of the few developing house that I think for the longest time always put those in there. Because
is it Traveler's Tale or Telltale?
I thought it was Telltale, but it might be
Traveler's Tales did the Lego stuff.
Yeah.
Telltale
is the
did
story
all the
stuff.
Walking Telltale
did all the
Batman.
Walking Dead stuff. You're right.
Yeah.
So I think they knew what they were making. They knew the audience they had, and they knew the audience would lean into it and have fun, right?
Yeah.
And also having the stud counters and having them multiply was the most efficient way to get all the ridiculous number of characters and not have to spend thousands of hours doing it.
Right.
They've since made that almost too complicated, but it's still a fun addition to have to something like that. So I kind of like both of them. How do you guys feel about it?
So for me, whichever one, I don't care as long as it's very easy. Here's why. We live in the time of in an era of you go online and you find the code. So this is not like when you make a code really hard to discover because it's supposed to be hard to discover. So since it's so accessible, it should just be a very easy, 3-button code or whatever just to activate it, because there's no reason to make it 20 characters long or 50. Like if you look at GTA, it's like 10 button combinations to hit and everything like that. It's ridiculous.
Right.
If you're aware of the code, okay, you're aware of it. It exists. You should just check it on or off. And that's pretty much what like Saints Row does. They're very easy little words. And you put it on, and then you can turn them on and off as you please. That's how it should be.
Right. The problem with doing that on console, you almost.
I'm sorry. Hey, Mike. I'm sorry to whoever. Real quick. The previous comment, I thought that was perfect. That they used it in easy mode, you wouldn't get the full ending.
Right.
I'm cool with that.
That was Scepter. Yeah.
Great.
So and that's
Mike,
fine. They did
ready,
that because they would remove certain levels. Like certain levels wouldn't appear on certain difficulty modes, or the game would end early. And they'd say, well, to see the actual ending of the game, play it on this difficulty mode. Right.
Get good.
Mike, I'm sorry, I talked.
No, it's okay. I think the problem with doing words and phrases on console is having to actually use your controller to put those words in.
Yeah.
So I think on console you almost have to have, button presses and stick stuff. What I don't like though is I don't know if you remember, but a lot of those codes you had to put in within 7 seconds while the menu was on. It just make it so you can put the code in any time.
Yeah, I found going back and trying to play Life Force and get the 30 life code in exceptionally difficult. Because that splash screen's only up there for 3 seconds, and I'm like, and I screw up the code every time. I can key it in on Contra because it's got a longer time that you're on that screen, but Life Force has such a narrow window. The code still works. I'm just really bad at executing it quick enough.
I have an idea, and I think everyone here is going to love this idea. If I was a developer, because this is going to go into that Doom making fun of you for cheating, but that way you can do it. I say there should be. The cheat code is that you have to talk into your microphone, saying something like "I pay for sex." Then it says, "I'm sorry, I didn't hear that," and you have to say it louder.
And then it plays it back.
But you have to scream this over your roommates or your significant other or whatever. Like that is worthy of the cheat. Come on.
Honestly, and here's another add to the shame for the achievement hunters. It becomes an achievement. It becomes one of those shame achievements, right? Killing yourself in the helicopter blades in Prey or something like that, right? Before you ever get anywhere, that kind of silliness. It becomes one of those. So achievement hunters have to key it in or do it at least one time in order to get 100% achievements.
And I'm just happy that no one's going to clip me screaming what I just said before. Take that out of context.
Now that you've given the idea.
Even though it's probably very accurate.
Yeah. And Fastback says he actually has no desire to use cheat codes nowadays. Honestly, I would. I think I would have a lot of fun with cheat codes these days, mostly because I feel like I just I feel like a lot of times the games have just become like such a slog now. With a lot of them, it's not all of them. The indie scene and like a lot of developers are kind of embracing the shorter term games that are a little bit quicker, a little bit more respectful of a busy person's life than the 80, 90, 100 hour sabbaticals of like, Fallout and Skyrim and Breath of the Wild and stuff like that. The ones that take at minimum probably take you about 40 hours the first time you play it. But you're averaging sometimes around, most people probably averaging somewhere between 50 and 60 to complete it their first time. People who get really good are completing it in like an hour or two, because that's about as fast as you can complete that game. Because I've seen some speed runs and they're usually like somewhere between like an hour and a half and 3 hours of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And that's fast for that game. That's ridiculously fast, but it's long for a speed run. So I feel like having some of those codes are just like a way for me to break the monotony of being in this world for this long period of time. Or would entice me to go back to it after the fact, because after I'm done with 50, 60, 70 hours in a game, I really don't want to go back and play it all that often. Like, I just don't. Like, I'll pick up Contra and I'll play Contra. I'll pick up like Game Ground and play Game Ground, or Ghostbusters on Genesis, or Ninja Gaiden or something like that, and I'll play those on a regular, even though I've beaten those, because I know if I do a run, I can either just improve the amount of time, how fast I'm going through the game, but either way, even if I go through the whole game, it's probably going to take me like 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how bad I am at that given point, right? And I can allocate 30 minutes or so to practicing a game like that. If I spent 30 minutes in an open world game, I might get like one objective done if I'm lucky. And for the most part, it feels like I've spent that 30 minutes and now I don't have any more time, and I got very little done in that amount of time. So it becomes kind of frustrating to some extent. Some of the games aren't that bad. Some of them you could do a couple things in like an hour. Phoenix was pretty good about that. You could usually find your way to an objective and complete at least like one or two subtasks inside like 30 minutes.
Oh, right? Yeah. Easy.
So that wasn't too bad, but some of them get particularly bad, right? And it just becomes like this huge slog, and you're stuck in the middle of the sequence, right? That sometimes you can't even save in. So maybe you didn't get any progress at all, right? Yeah. Things like Returnal turned me off because they're like, oh, well, a good run is 2.5 hours. And I'm like, no, I'm out. I have no way of saving. You're telling me I have to dedicate to complete this game at least 2.5 hours to be able to run through your game in its entirety. Once I understand everything and I've got it down clean, right? I'm like, I rarely spend more than an hour playing anything at a time before I stop and do something else.
Right, because you have a life and obligations.
I have other stuff. I have videos I want to do. I have like pets to take care of. I have a wife to spend time with. I have family that comes into town. I have a full-time job, right? So I'm not going to, most evenings, if I spend 30, 40 minutes playing a game, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time for me. I mean, for when I was younger, I had all the time in the world. That would have been a non-issue. I could have dove into that, no problem. As it is, I would spend some time on the weekend doing it, and then I would fail at it so many times. I'd be like, why am I playing this and seeing the same scenery again and again and again and again? Because it's roguelike, and that's what you do.
I'd say like
else.
Here's what I can imagine. A lot of people who, first of all, I totally understand anyone that doesn't like cheat code. I totally get it. Like, you like challenges. When you play a game, like, that's what you want out of it. Totally get it. However, I can guarantee you, let's say if you were watching a movie, I bet you there are some favorite movies of yours that you play that you just skip to the parts that you love. Sometimes you probably you don't play it from the very beginning and watch it every single time to completion. Maybe you just want to see that great part here or here or here or here. That's the same thing with a cheat code. It's like, I think at the very least that after you beat it, it's just fun to just do some things for a half hour and just do this one fun thing for a little bit and then maybe this other thing. It's the same thing to me. It's like it's being able to take something that you purchased and get a different way to enjoy it, get some extra value from it.
Yeah. And honestly, a lot of times I don't do that with movies, but what I do with movies that I've seen a bunch is I'll put them on while I'm editing or I'm doing something else, right? Or if I'm exercising, I'll put them on because then I can do exactly what you're saying. I can stop and cue in on those certain sections and passively listen to it the rest of the time, right? So it generally gets played in its entirety or over a couple of sessions, depending on what I'm doing, because that may be 30 minutes here, 40 minutes there, that kind of thing, right? But yeah, I mean, that's I find, especially Netflix for the longest time was where why I kept that for as long or keep that around is I'll see something. And it would be particularly like a show series that I can just like roll from one to the next, right? And I may have seen them all before, but I'll rewatch them because I can do other things and I don't have to stay quite as focused on it because it's not my first run through, right? I've already seen it in its entirety. I've already paid attention to it the way it probably should be paid attention to or more closely paid attention to rather than, it's off to the side and I'm doing something else. Like if I'm watching The Mandalorian, I honestly prefer to go downstairs and watch it on my TV because it looks better there. The sound's not as good as it is up here because my speakers aren't as good. But I have more of a tendency to focus on it then, at least on the first watch through. If I was rewatching them, yeah, I'll have it up here and I'll just have it on in the background. And stop and watch it for a little bit, and then I'll go back to what I'm doing.
And like, there's nothing wrong with having that option, and I think that's the idea with cheat codes. It's just the extra ability. Again, I'm totally to get cheat codes back. I'm okay with it. You beat the game and then do it. Fine.
I don't even find that and I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying that's
cheat code to skip the intro, skip into.
That would be wonderful.
That would actually be great.
Stupid
that needs to be
dialogue.
more of an option.
But it's an option.
Yeah.
I feel like you should just be able to turn those off if you don't want them, or turn them on and off, or even go like I know Gotham Knights gets a lot of crap, but I kind of like how they did some of that. They threw those in as part of your challenge set. And if you go into those, you can learn some of those mechanics that you might have missed. Like I didn't know I had smoke bomb. I didn't know how to use smoke bombs for the longest. And the tutorial showed me how to do it. I'm like, oh, this makes stealth tolerable in this game. This makes this a lot more fun. But it didn't tell me that right off. I was just playing the game. I had to actively go in because I was looking to do a specific achievement or looking to do a specific thing. And I went in and checked it out. And it was there. And I'm like, okay, I like this. I'm not necessarily being forced into all these long tutorials, but they're there if I want to learn better about the mechanics of the game, or I'm not figuring some of them out, or maybe I'll learn something. Or you could just pound through the game without having those and probably still get through the game. It's up to you. But yeah, I think that's a good ad for sure.
Pace had a question that we never addressed. It was right before that. Final Fantasy. I think it was about speeding.
Speed up mechanics.
Yeah, right here on the Switch.
But is that it?
No, that was no.
But that's not it.
Pay better.
The one before that.
And there was one about speeding things up.
Yeah.
This one.
Speeding up the game mechanics. Yeah. Can you change how much skill XP you get per battle and how you get them? I kind of like this. And the reason I like this is because when you go back and you play some of these old, particularly the older RPGs, the JRPGs, like I forgot how much you get thrown into random battles sometimes. Like it's truly ridiculous sometimes and really does hurt the flow.
I was going to say, it's not a cheat though.
Not necessarily, but I mean, you could kind of count it as that. It's kind of a, it almost fits better into our other topic, like a modern convenience.
As a mod in a sense, right? You are changing the initial gameplay, correct?
Yeah, you're changing the structure of the gameplay in a way. I mean,
that's a mod, right?
Yeah.
So it's more of a mod that they put in to kind of make the game run a little bit smoother. But I mean, like Phantasy Star 2 in particular, I know there were times where like I would take a step, I'd run into a random battle. I'd take another step, I'd run into another random battle. And it might be 5 minutes. I might go 10 steps and lose 30 minutes because of all the random battles.
You know, and I'm not the best guy to talk about this stuff because I'm not that familiar with it. But how you doing, Scramble? From my understanding, and double check my math here, I think Final Fantasy implemented that because they had heard so much criticism about exactly what you just said, Nick. And so I think they wanted to, on the remake, I'm not talking about the PS4 big remake. I'm talking about when they re-released Final Fantasy like 7 and stuff or whatever, all those games, that I think they allowed you to bypass all those battles because there was so much criticism. So I wonder if that, and it's almost similar to like Wind Waker. Remember what they did with the sailing? Where they went in and kind of modified that a little bit.
Yeah. They had like the faster sail, or the one that didn't require you to change the wind. You could just adjust the sail and just go.
Yeah, I think it's almost like a mod.
Was a great quality of life, but you had to buy that. I think you had to buy that one in the game, which I was fine with. I totally went out and got that one. It was expensive, but I bought it. Final Fantasy 7, there's an option they made to make all characters level 99. Yeah, I could kind of see that. That one I wouldn't see myself using as much. And I think the reason I wouldn't use it is because grinding up the characters is part of what I want to do in an RPG. Like I like the leveling part. That's part of the experience I want when I pick up an RPG.
Yeah.
But making the battles give you more gil, or maybe there being fewer battles, I could see using, particularly if the random battles are a lot, right? Like Phantasy Star 2, I would always, every time I went to a new town, I'd spend like a couple of hours grinding up and getting the latest weapons and armor. Like if there was something there that I didn't have that was an upgrade, I'd buy it before I did anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take a long time. Sometimes you'd have tons of random battles. Sometimes you'd have none. And the inconsistency of it, and sometimes the overt frequency of it, could become frustrating, particularly if you're in like a hard part. Like you're in a dungeon and you're like real close to the boss, but it seems like every step there's another random battle. And then by the time you get to the boss, you're just worn down, right? Because you don't have anything left. Because it was just, the RNG was just not with you at that time. And that can be kind of frustrating. So I think some of those tweaks are great. Those games are fantastic for their time for that. But I think smoothing that out a little bit is a huge perk. But as far as putting yourself to 99, I wouldn't personally do it. I'm glad it's there for people who want it. Let me phrase it that way.
See, I think after this conversation, like I have really settled into it, the idea that I think after you beat the game, you should have, I really like that. I think it makes everyone happy for the most part.
Yeah, I agree.
I kind of like that idea.
Honestly, even if they added in with some DLC or something like that, I would probably still pick it up. Hell, I might buy more DLC if they go, hey, by the way, here's a bunch of cheat codes for you to let you.
Well, Capcom does that with their Resident Evil. They do that a lot. $5 to unlock kind of everything. Right. You get infinite ammo without having to do all that stuff,
Yeah. So I could see that.
Where Assassin's Creed is evil, where they do the idea that they make the game extra grindy, but when you pay a fee, that it becomes like a normal game. I don't know if you're aware of that. They're like Assassin's Creed's famous for that.
See, I never got. My problem with Assassin's Creed games is I don't like the assassin part of Assassin's Creed.
well, there's a.
So I didn't really enjoy the series that much. I played the first one and it was okay. It had too many collectibles. I didn't really care for the combat as much. I didn't dip back in until Black Flag, which I loved, as long as I could just be a pirate. Mm-hmm. When they made me stop and do a mission where I had to track some guy in town in some idiotic way, or I had to chase a guy through town. I mean, he couldn't get away, but you can't catch him until you get to a certain part. You like this entirely just scripted thing. Like you can't cut him off. It's nothing more than just like a lawn chase scene that they could have done with a cinematic and not waste my time. Mm-hmm. I hate those. I don't like any of that. So basically, the core experience of that style of Assassin's Creed, I don't like.
It's like saying you don't like the hockey part of hockey games,
right?
That's why I don't play Assassin's Creed games.
It's literally in the name.
That's why I don't play. That's why I don't play the Assassin's Creed.
I just like eating the Cracker Jacks. It's pretty much my favorite part of that.
Yeah, right. I honestly, that's why I don't play the series. Like, I probably dumped 40 hours in Black Flag, and I mostly did just the pirating stuff, and I had a blast with it for that. So I got my money's worth out of that one. But there were like when I had to go back to the main storyline is when my fun level just tanked.
I got this baseball game, but the only thing I really like to do in it is sit in the stands and eat popcorn.
Night Amuse, thanks for popping in.
Yeah.
Night Amuse.
See, pace this with me. Like when you can do the side stuff and you can just kind of have fun in that world. There's a lot of fun to be had in that world, right? In a lot of these things. But when they do, there's two things they do that drive me crazy in that game. Like when I was playing Black Flag, at one point they pulled me out of the Animus and had me walk around doing mundane chores in the office.
Yeah, so that I will grant you that.
I'm like, stop doing this.
I don't understand. I never understood the Animus part.
Like, I don't want to talk to anybody in this office. I don't want to do mundane, like defragging a hard drive. What are you doing? If I need to do this, I'll do this in my real life. I don't want to do it in your video game. Let me go be a pirate.
Yeah, you paid good money to defrag a hard drive.
Yeah, I paid good money to get pulled out of this. I have to go do this. And then I can go back to being a pirate, but I have to do this stupid little sequence first.
That just got me thinking when you said the pirate stuff. Like, I would love a pirate game that's like Grand Theft Auto, that you can be like a pirate. That would be fun.
Absolutely.
That would
I think
be
that would be great.
Fun.
The closest thing we have to that is Sea of Thieves, but it's got kind of a loose story. I want something with a more grandiose story.
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves by Sid Meier.
There you go. Absolutely. So yeah, and that's just the kind of thing that I don't know. And cheat modes in that to basically make you not as easy to spot. Because sometimes Assassin's Creed would just be like freaking ridiculous with the way it would spot you, right?
Right.
And honestly, Black Flag had probably one of my favorite weapons in there that felt like a cheat in and of itself. Because my wife just sat there and just laughed at me because I would maniacally chuckle every time I had an assassin target. Because I would use berserk darts on his guards.
What does that do? I'm not familiar.
It makes them go crazy
and attack each other.
Anybody.
Oh, okay.
So they'll attack they'll attack and kill each other. They'll attack they'll attack your target. Mm-hmm. So I have killed the target with his own guards multiple times. Mm-hmm. So I'd sit in a bush, nowhere near him, and just go, and then all of a sudden when the guys go, raw, and just start going crazy. And then they'll have to waste all their resources just dealing with this one dude. Right. And then I just do it over and over and over again until the guy finally fell over dead. Or he didn't have any guards left. And then I could just sneak up on him on my leisure and like deal with him. That was the only time I had fun being an assassin in that game. It was kind of like mind control in StarCraft, right? You take over a unit, you sneak it into base.
Is there a kind of a derail, and don't answer it if it's way too much of a derailment, because it's a derailment. But I was curious, what genre of games do you guys that you just can't get into? Like, is there any particular just like that I just can't do it?
Souls games.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a hard time with Souls games and pretty much any sports game. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not
even NBA Jam stuff like that too.
I never really got big into NBA Jam.
Okay.
I got into Blitz for a little bit, but then I realized it was a midway game, and midway games cheat like crazy. Mm-hmm. And it kind of killed the fun because anytime you'd start to get ahead, it'd be like interception, fumble, interception, fumble, interception, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. Your AI and the way you're trying to keep the game close has kind of ruined the game for me. So I'm kind of done. Honestly, I'd have to agree with Pace to a lesser extent here. The last Far Cry game really killed the Far Cry series for me. I don't have quite the same level of hatred for Ubisoft because
try Beyond Good and Evil. That game is a masterpiece.
And Immortals. Immortals is another really good one by them as well.
And I loved Odyssey.
Phoenix Rising is great. Mm-hmm. But the Far Cry series, my problem with Far Cry is they always put this kind of Easter egg where if you don't play the game, you get a really good ending. And it's often the best ending in the game. And that has stopped being funny. And has just pissed me off.
Did that start with like Pagan Min, or was there one before? Was it in 3? Because I'm thinking Pagan Min was 4.
I think if you just wait. Yeah, I don't know that the first one had it, but I know I know the one with the guy you're talking about, the one that was like, if
you just wait at the table,
he's kind of a blonde hair guy where he says, I gotta go do something.
Yeah.
And then if you wait like 10, 15 minutes and he comes back, he just hands over the keys to the money and you get on the helicopter and that's it.
Yep.
Far Cry 5 was very similar.
Yes.
Like if you just refuse to arrest him and you walk away, that is actually the nicest ending in the game.
Yeah.
Like literally, if you go, and spoilers for anybody who hasn't played the game, I don't feel like I'm really gonna hurt anybody. You know what? I don't care if I ruin it because I hate this game. Whoa. Far Cry 5 made me so angry because I went through this whole story, this whole rigmarole of this whole cult thing, which was a little overblown and a little stupid to begin with. But fine, I'm having enough fun with the open world that I'm okay doing this, except for when they just randomly drag me into boss battles forcibly.
Mm-hmm.
I should have been able to choose when I did those. So the main game, other than that quirk, was fine. But the main ending where you go through all this, you help everybody, you catch this guy, and then it sets off a fucking nuclear winter.
Language.
Like it launches a freaking nuke and destroys the country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, so I got the worst ending of the game by doing the most amount of work in the game. I mean, I did every objective, right? The only thing I didn't do was get all the collectibles, which you can't do after you beat the game because it clears everything out. You can't go back and do the rest of the stuff, which also ticked me off. I'm like, what? I hate you. You took away my after credits fun of finishing up all my chores I wanted to do, like collectibles and stickers and all this other stuff. And by doing the game what I thought was the appropriate way, I got a terrible ending in which the bad guy won. Basically, I'm like, this is not the ending I wanted out of the game. If you give me a choice thing and that led to this, fine. Mm-hmm. But you didn't. This was the ending.
You know, and it's funny. It's a shame. Like, if there was ever a game that needed that kind of ending, it's good taste. If there was ever a game, I wanted there to be a horror game where it's like, you've got to save your girlfriend in that terrifying castle. It's like, nope. And then I just wanted to see the credits go. And it's just like, I'm just like, nope, I'm going to find a hotter chick. Adios. And then you just.
It's like what was it? The second Secret of Monkey Island game. You could just go into command line, type I win.
Right. That's a hell of a cheat code for you.
And then it just shows you the ending, and then you're done.
That was a hell of an end. That was a hell of a code.
I never even knew that. I didn't.
There's a cheat code in it. Let me look it up here.
Because Monkey Island didn't have a command prompt, so I guess you would just type it out, and then that'd be that.
Let's see. Hold on. So Secret Monkey, LeChuck's Revenge cheats.
Because it was their scum engine. It was the point, you just like hit pull or open door.
Yeah, no, there was a way to do it. I'm trying to remember what it is. See what an ending.
Like you can't do it on the console versions and like the remasters. Which
to instantly win, you press Control and W.
Oh, okay, there you go.
All right, close enough.
So yeah, you press Control and W at the same time, and it's an instant win.
I'm trying to think how. Yeah,
I don't know how you do that on console. I imagine there's probably a workaround for it, but yeah.
Well, what's funny too is that not funny. I don't know that they remastered 2 because they brought out Return. Yeah, I didn't miss a. No,
not yet.
All's well. Coming. You just watch all the way to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, right till the very end. It'll be like, Wing Commander. Credits.
Oh my goodness.
Nick, do you happen to know what the very first cheat code was in a Game Geek Storian?
I don't think I've looked into that. That's actually probably a good episode because I don't think I know that one.
I know I think we both know the first Easter egg, but I don't know the first cheat
Yeah,
code.
the first Easter egg is adventure.
Mhm.
At least the first one that I know of, anyway, because he put his name into a specific room that you had to find. But I don't think I know the very first cheat code. Because I imagine it's got to be before 8-bit, because if it wasn't before 8-bit, I would default to the Konami code. But I think there's probably something earlier than that.
Well,
I'd say it has to be.
First thing that comes up, but I can't believe this is right. One of the earliest known examples of this type of cheat, is the 1986 Konami code, Gradius, I believe. But I don't buy that.
That's the up,
Gradius,
down,
that's
left,
the
left,
that's
right.
the cut. Yeah, so
That's known as the Konami code.
correct.
It works on Life Force, Contra, and Gradius.
And a bunch of other games too.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other games that does effects. Some of them has negative effects, I think. I think they later on they used it as kind of like a troll to do something negative instead of positive.
Apparently it works on like Anno 1800 and I'm looking it up now. You could do it in Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, Tetris Effect.
I'm seeing Colossal Cave 1977 is one of the
Colossal Cave had a
earliest
cheat code?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really early game.
Yeah, 1977.
Yeah.
So
on a wall in the game, you can find the word XYZZY on the wall. Typing it in, you find that it's a magic word that lets you skip some tedious gameplay early in the gameplay. So, I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but that is what
I don't know. I'll have to do some digging on it because that would make a fun video. And that's something I haven't covered yet that I feel like probably needs to be covered because I've covered sillier stuff like what I covered this week, which is partially why I had the second topic that I don't know if we want to get into tonight or not because I don't know if we've got want to spend enough time on it or not. The second topic we were going to talk about was graphical styles. Which ones work where? Which ones would you like to see more of? And which ones would you kind of like to see done away with, if any?
I have one off the bat that's not going to be popular.
How much longer do we want to go? Because this is a good. This could be.
Yeah, this could be a long topic. This one could almost go longer than the cheat codes.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
My quick one, real quick, because I love adventure games. You know, I'm like resident adventure game guy. I miss the old 2D animated adventure games. Like Broken Sword had some of the most gorgeous animation and painted backgrounds and stuff like that. So it's almost like me saying I miss like Disney, hand drawn animation. I love.
So
are
you talking about like platformers?
No, for me it was more the
adventure games with really nicely painted backgrounds, almost like hand drawn backgrounds, right?
Well, because
kind of like think a Disney art, think a Disney castle cell, only that you can move around in, right?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking there was one of the first Saturn games that I ever got. One of the first Saturn games I ever had was a Stall, which is a platformer. Yeah. But it was exactly that, and it was gorgeous. I mean, it still is. I mean, it's not was. It is. It is a gorgeous game.
Paste is saying this almost needs to be its own show.
Yeah.
Sure. At least 3 or 4 comments, and probably.
I would agree with that because there's a lot. There's a lot to say about.
Yeah, Paste usually has a lot of good comments. So.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff with like criticisms on cell shading and stuff like that on some of those that I vehemently disagree with. Because there's been plenty of like cell shaded games that I absolutely loved, and I think look great and definitely look like AA, if not AAA, in my opinion. But people tend to slide on them because they think they look like something out of Flash, when that's not necessarily the case. And even some Flash games look pretty well. You can't view them now, but some of them look almost straight up like the quality of a high-end mobile game, right? Mm-hmm. Which have gotten almost graphically indistinct to console games when you look at it. Just the gameplay is more pay to win than than actually get good. The controls are a little sketchy.
I was happy with when I'm not alone here. When I saw Cuphead, I was like, "Oh, this is fantastic!" Like to see a living, breathing cartoon. That was the closest I've gotten in a sense of that old painted, cartoony look.
The
Cup is
one that
incredible.
comes to mind when you say that painted cartoony look to me is always Dragon's Lair.
Oh,
Well, not much of an actual game.
Yeah,
It's
but
more of like
totally.
QTE the game.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's Don Bluth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically and he translated that kind of style. There was actually a Dragon's Lair game for the Xbox, Dragon's Lair 3D.
That's actually a pretty good looking game. I've seen some footage of that.
And Bluth worked on that game with his animation team to do some of that because he wanted to. Let me look it up real quick. Give me a second. I interviewed him way back in the day when that game came out. God bless you, archive.org. Give me a second. They archived like miles of my old website, and I know that interview is there.
And Nick, while he's doing that, what are some games that you with the art style? Did you have anything in mind?
Honestly, the one I honestly, well, and partially because I just did a video on digitized sprites. I think that something kind of got lost a little bit along the way with games like Mortal Kombat, because there's something to be said about that style run around like Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 into a little bit lesser extent 3, because they looked a little more drawn than pixelated, just because it had advanced so far that they didn't look quite as
spritey
as it before. I kind of miss that. I would almost like to see like those either remastered or like another one done like a AA game. Have them do a AA version of a Mortal Kombat game and do it kind of in that style. I'd pay $30-$40 for that. Easy. And I'd buy DLC for it easily. And then I'd still buy like Mortal Kombat 12 or whatever, and enjoy the heck out of that one. But I think there's something to that art style. Right, I kind of miss sprite graphics in general, right?
Yeah. Well, Nick, what do you think? Do you think if they did, let's say, the next Mortal Kombat was a throwback and it actually went back to the 2D roots, but they used actors, but obviously now it looks a lot better. Is that something that you would love, or do you think that would be too much of a derailment?
I think I would love it. Honestly, I wouldn't even mind to see them do one more like the way Capcom did, say, Street Fighter Third Strike. Which is as far as pixel graphics, I think gorgeous, I think that's the height of pixel graphics. Anytime somebody goes, well, like where's your peak of like pixel art in the early generations, right? I always point them to like Street Fighter 3.
Yeah,
like the animations in that are just beautiful. Now there's been some advancements and stuff like that, like Blasphemous does some beautiful animations and pixel art. So there's some gorgeous games that are starting to do that now, but they do more of a somber color palette. There's something so fun and so bright and so vivid and intense about Street Fighter 3, which is why I feel like
I agree with that.
Kind of hits all those notes for me, right? You've got some of the more dim, somber backgrounds that contrast with these brightly colored characters, but it gels. Nothing feels disjointed. It all looks like it belongs together.
Mike, did you? I think did you get your article or whatever?
I did. I put it in
the Hold on,
chat.
Let me pull it up here.
This is one of my highlights of my old
screen, but I can't make this big enough for anybody to really see it.
Oh, really? Let me see if
it's here, but I mean, it might be a little hard for people to read.
Yeah, let's see what it looks
I mean,
like.
it's mostly a wall of text.
Oh, you should be able to take your browser and just jack your browser.
Paste is pleading with us to stop because he wants it to be.
He wants this to be a topic. Yeah.
No, I agree with him. So, can you increase the resolution of your browser?
I'm trying to remember how to do that in Opera.
Control and scroll and your scroll button.
There we go. Okay.
So it's just the first part. I mean, I fanboyed out from my very first thing I said to him.
2 exclamation marks. Wow.
Yeah.
That is excitement.
So getting to talk to this guy was insane. But what he basically said was, I asked what back in the 80s, Laserdisc games were expensive to produce. If expense wasn't an issue, is there anything you would like to have done back then that you just couldn't do at the time, game-wise? And he said the answer to that was Dragon's Lair 3D. So they were him and
Mike, was that Xbox the original, or was that on 360?
No, that was the OG Xbox. And it was actually one of the only 2 games on the Xbox, the original Xbox, that were in 1080i.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That one and Enter the Matrix.
Because most things capped out at like 900p, didn't they?
720.
720,
yeah. But what they liked about that game, and what they liked about what they were able to help do with that game as executive producers, were they took all that great stuff that they did with Dirk in the cartoon that they drew, and were able to give him full control, and then they added the 2D animation at the beginning and the end of the game. So they were more executive producers on Dragon's Lair 3D, but they were involved with approving all the character designs, the art direction, and they did a lot of the consulting on it.
See, I feel like a bunch of people, including me, missed this game, and I would like to see this either re-released or remastered.
It did not sell very well, because by 2000, people, were way past that. It was, it's a game from the 80s, and no one wanted to play Dragon's Lair anymore.
Well, and it's
kind of had a bit of a resurgence.
It did, and it's actually, I've got the Xbox One version. It's got Dragon's Lair 2, and Space Ace. I particularly I thoroughly enjoyed this.
And can I just say, as a side note, Bluth, they knew how to draw women. That's what I'll say.
Oh yeah, and women and rabbits.
Well, we were learning something new about Mike tonight.
Sub 2000. What's up, Krillcast? I haven't seen you in ages. How you doing, man? Good to see you.
I got to do their show. I have been forever. I need to talk to them again. I got to do their show. They've got.
I haven't seen. I'll be honest. I think it's been over a year since I've seen Krillcast make a comment on anything or show up in a podcast.
So they're great. They run a great show.
Oh yeah. So anyway, for anybody who didn't know what I did before doing a YouTube channel, this is what I did.
An odd fascination with rabbits? Was that what you were
saying? Yeah, an odd fascination with rabbits.
So, boy, that's 2 people on this show. We had Matthews, who we found out it goes to BronyCon, and Mike has a weird fetish for
rabbits.
Well-drawn rabbits.
Who knew?
Hey, Jessica.
I'm not judging. Oh, yeah. Well, Jessica, but she's not a rabbit, though.
She's not a rabbit, but her last name is
I just said
Rabbit.
Roger. Yeah, no, I remember being a kid watching Roger Rabbit going like, I feel a little funny. I want to go to the bathroom.
I think everybody, including the parents, was a little uncomfortable when Jessica Rabbit was on the screen. So yeah, Scramble says his favorite is 8 and 16-bit sprites. But yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll probably start to kind of wrap this part of this up, and we need to do a full episode on that.
Agreed.
Because I think that would I think we could talk about that longer almost than we could talk about cheat codes. I mean, I would like to see things like Game Genie and all that kind of come back, or at least have codes be unlockable, or some option to be able to get some DLC that just kind of open those things up, even if it was just specifically DLC pack that just blows open the game that you can buy or not buy. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with that. I think that's a good way to, and I think especially either turning off achievements or rewarding players for completing your game or doing certain achievements in your game. Like, say you tie it to achievements and you do this one specific achievement and it unlocks this cheat, right? That kind of thing. It gives people more of a tangible reward rather than just gamer score or a trophy that they can use to kind of modify the game and have fun with the game.
Or we can do my idea, which is that it is a verbal command that you have to scream into the controller. I paid for sex, or whatever it is. That's very demeaning, and
I love Rabbit. I love rabbits.
Yeah, I love rabbits in uncomfortable ways. And then you get your cheat code, but that way you have to scream it out over your significant others, friends, whatever it is, and then you can earn that cheat code. Yeah. I think that's a win-win for everybody. except your pride. But I don't have any, so
I think there's ways to work this kind of thing back into gaming and to make it fun and neat for players.
I agree.
It's
I would agree with that.
A little disappointing that things like unlocking characters has gone by the wayside. Cheat codes have kind of gone by the wayside. It's just kind of a little bit of a disappointment in my opinion, as something that's kind of been lost along the way that I think could have a resurgence and people would really enjoy having them even today. I can't see anybody that would have too much of a complaint on that. Mike, what do you have to say on it?
I think that is you hit the nail on the head. And if people don't want to use them, don't use them.
Don't use them. I mean, Doom Eternal, you can get them and just not use them.
Right.
You could do the same thing with the Lego game.
We should.
If you have the ability when you're playing a game to hit normal mode as opposed to easy, you're already a candidate to let other people enjoy cheat codes and you not using them.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Especially if you can change your difficulty mid-game.
Yeah, and I've seen recommendations from a game like, hey, if this section is too hard, you can always drop down the difficulty or something like that as a recommendation.
Right.
So being able to dynamically do that in certain parts of things, if you're struggling or you need to kind of, you're just not getting down the mechanics and you just don't want to fool with it anymore, that I'm fine with that being an option. Yeah. I'm also fine with the developer saying, no, this is how we want our game developed and this is how we want the game to be. I don't think it's something for every game, but I feel like developers and games in general should go more back to being fun rather than just trying to be like cinematic experiences put in an interactive medium, right? I mean, there's a place for those. I don't want this to go away. I just feel like there needs to be some more fun experience.
Well, like if you take Naughty Dog, you take I can speak definitely for the last two Uncharted games. They allow you that once you've beat them, you can unlock all the weapons and all the other stuff. Like there's things you can do with that.
See the game will hobble through its baby steps, going from 2D to 3D. Only
and we never really
make a huge comeback. Absolutely, Crowcast.
We never really touched on the Game Genie, and I know. Unfortunately, the Game Genie ended up doing more, I guess, damage in the industry, which is why you don't see them anymore. And, of course, now you can't really do a Game Genie with modern consoles. But...
Well, it's basically just a PC at this point, right? Like, that's that's what
I feel like you could, and the reason I feel like you could is you'd use it as like a USB thumb drive or something like that that you would connect. And you could access it that way.
But then you have the whole trophy issue thing, and that's where they're going to get real upset.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Not just that. I mean, let's again remember what the Game Genie was ultimately used for at the end of the day.
Oh, I know. People, and that's more or less what was the nail in the coffin. But I feel like you could bring something like that back, even if it was.
What was it? Was it unlocking like exports? What was the
well, people were using it to like pirate games and all sorts of other craziness.
On the PlayStation 2, you could use it to play games you downloaded. And hang on a second, this is the point in the show when I get up and get something.
Yeah, Burgos is saying Hyperkin did have a save editor for the PS4.
He's just taking an old man piss right now is really what he's doing.
Probably.
I'm getting something.
It was scrambling to try to like patch it out. I don't remember that from Hyperkin, so I may have absolutely missed that. And then the Game Shark as well, which basically was kind of like the Game Genie, just different variant on the same thing.
He said Game Shark, and I'm almost positive. I have to look and see. It's my for you,
that
Scepter.
old bladder.
My beautiful Sega CD collection that sits in here protected.
Yeah, but really, what you've done, like what you're showing, is really nice and everything. But you just made a whole bunch of collectors like really upset that they're not in boxes. Like you just triggered 20% of the audience.
Yeah, and I'm slightly traumatized myself because I kept my CDs and something like that for years, and they had tons of scratches on the back of them.
I don't take.
So
them
now
out.
that stuff drives me crazy.
See, I don't take them out. I emulate my Sega CD stuff.
See, you've already triggered DJC.
Yeah, I knew somewhere out there it's already happened.
The boxes are on the shelf. The boxes are on the shelf.
The great triggering has begun.
All right, so I have.
We're currently going to be canceled.
Yes. All right. So here are I have the Game Shark for I think this is the PlayStation 1.
Okay.
Then I
Okay.
have the
Save
original
Wizard.
the original Game Shark for PlayStation 2, and then the third revision, which allowed for more game download playing
Yep.
fun. So
Didn't you have to have like a little? You had to put it
there's
in
a
the memory
dongle.
slot.
Yes, it was a memory card dongle, which I have in my. I've got like a box of controllers and knickknacks and stuff, and the dongles in there.
Next
Okay.
to all your weird rabbit fetish
Oh.
stuff, right? Is that
Speaking
it?
of
Yeah,
dragons,
pretty much.
Yes.
Okay.
Speaking of Dragon's Lair and Space Ace, here are something that you probably nobody's gonna know.
See, I just pulled him out of solo layout, and he knows
Jaguar
Wow.
for the
I didn't
Jag.
even remember those were on the Jaguar. Of course,
I
those things
didn't
went
either.
on everything. I think they're on toasters now.
Yes. And these were the old versions that didn't really play. So, see, now that I'm doing show and tell, back in my first job, my first game journalism job was for Dreamcast HQ, and I used to get these, and I still have my system disc to play these on.
God
That
cards
is
for
a-
Yu-Gi-Oh! Before menus, and it never worked.
So
That's good
Sorry.
to see you in chat, Crowcast. I missed you, man.
I'm sorry I triggered everybody. With
They
my
should
button.
actually try to do that. They should film themselves trying to call Sony and demanding their money back.
That would actually be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be a fun series.
It would be.
Yeah.
I think though it's starting to get kind of late. We're kind of closing in on 2 hours, so I think what we might do
Yeah.
is kind of do final thoughts, go around with what everybody's kind of doing this week on their channel, and kind of call it an evening, and then kind of catch up with each other a little bit because we got on kind of late, so we can catch up backstage a little bit. But Panda, what all have you got going on this week, and what are your final thoughts on all this? And all
Oh,
this
my
other good
final
jazz?
thoughts. I am like I said before. I totally understand people who don't like cheat codes. I absolutely understand those who play games who just love the challenge. And once that challenge is complete, it's like putting a trophy on the shelf. Like you've beaten it, you've slayed it. It's like you know. I totally understand that. However, I do believe that we should return to the fun of video games, of just having a good time, a good goofy time, if you will. Yes, actually playing GameCube. That's actually how I play most of my games. And I think that a nice way to just make everyone happy is that if you beat the game, you should be rewarded the ability to just have fun, do whatever you want with it. I think the cheat codes make games a lot more fun, personally, and I don't see how it really hurts anyone. Are we talking about our channels, or is that just our final thoughts?
Oh, go ahead and talk about the channel. Go ahead.
Well, I'm pretty quick. As you guys know, as I say every time, my stuff takes a very, very long time to make. I'm getting to the end now of this big episode that will hopefully be out by the end of May. So look for that. But more importantly, I think definitely follow me on Twitter or Instagram, PandaSub2000, on either one of those, because I'm constantly putting behind the scenes of me working on this stuff and showing you how I'm making it. It's a lot of fun. So if you haven't followed me there, I think that's a good thing you can follow me there as you're waiting for this huge, gigantic episode to come out. It's a really cool episode, and Mike actually may be helping me on a certain part in it, which I'm excited. Hopefully that's going to work out.
I'm working on that. You know what I did not ask you is what's your deadline?
Oh no, well, my deadline. I'm pretty flexible since it's taking me forever to do this.
Yesterday.
So. But anyway, thanks again, Nick, for having me, and
It's always a
thank you.
pleasure to have you on.
And thank you, Mr. Matthews, for being a good sport, even though you're a fraud, and you are. I'm kidding. No, thanks, Matthews, for being a good sport, and thank you again, Nick. This is such a great show. I love this show. Thank you.
Don't follow me. I don't need more stalkers. Go follow Panda.
Well, I have no followers, so I'll take it.
Mike, what you got going on?
Not much this week. There'll be no show tomorrow night because I got invited to the Orioles game tomorrow, and I won't be home in time, and so no show tomorrow. But we're gonna get back to another co-op stream on Thursday. There was a new update that dropped for the Cowabunga collection that added some new online play to, I believe, Turtles 3 for the NES, and I'd like to check that out co-op. So,
Mike, I have a suggestion for you. I say you have the worst show of your life tomorrow night and actually do a live stream at the Orioles game while trying to have hosting a series. Please do that. Please make me happy and do this horrible show.
I don't know.
And like it has to be a very serious topic, like Game Pass. Like do that really serious while everyone's screaming and you're yelling and please do it.
Right.
Thank you, Mike.
Game Pass is a Game Pass. It's out of here. Yeah. So as I was saying, oh my goodness, Hydrox is a better game. Mike, Oreos are a ripoff. Hydrox are great cookies. I'm
I still can't get past that name. I feel like I'm taking a chance with my life if I'm going to eat something called Hydrox.
Hydrox.
I can't do
cookies. They were good.
See, I go from like moving normal to moving in slow mo again. I do think there's something wrong. With
Yes,
this
and then
device.
you go. Well,
there's a second where I think I'm in bullet time. And
yes.
I think I'm Neo for like a second.
And then I go max headroom again. It's all bizarre.
Yes.
I know.
It's basically he freezes, and then like
catches
6
up.
seconds,
Yeah,
6 seconds later.
I'm just gonna buy a new cam link. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna buy a new cam link because I'm kind of done with this one right now.
You know, I'd make a suggestion for the chat. If the next episode is going to all be about graphic style, I'd love for them to pull up, do a search, and have or games ready to tell us that maybe we haven't heard of that we can pull them on screen and show the artwork. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and what I want to do on that one before we do that is I want to get some like stuff recorded and ready to go, so we can show some gameplays on them. Because another good one to talk about is Comic Zone. Right?
Oh,
which has an amazingly unique art style, even on my Genesis, right? So there's a lot of stuff like that.
Can I just say, a little fun fact? I have been working on a Panda Sub episode for going on 6 years now. That's for Comic Zone. It probably won't be another 2 or 3 years that it's done, but it's all the actors look like it looks like a living, breathing comic book. Like I'm doing all the drawings on top of the actors. So that would be really
zombies
cool.
like Hydrox are better than Oreos.
I'm sure you're right. I just can't get past that name.
The name is terrible. The name is like the worst. It's bad.
Yeah, so, the name is not great.
No, it's not. So I mean, my final thoughts are: I feel like there should be some way to kind of like work cheat codes back in. I don't think they're for every game, but I think you could work them into more games than you could work them into. It's a good way of rewarding the player for getting so far in your game or for doing specific achievements, even if you want to do it on like pretty rare achievements, right? Ones that people are unlikely going to do. Like maybe a special like speed boost or something for the Bat Cycle for completing all the Bat Cycle challenges or something like that instead of just giving you a color palette. Stuff like that. Things like that reward the player for going that extra mile or doing that extra exploration and getting into areas that people wouldn't normally explore. It gives them a reward, right? Not so much just like a gun a level early, like what would happen with Doom, but something a little bit more fun and playful that they could manage to use. And I don't think those are bad things. I think that's just a way of allowing the player to have some fun and to see some of the humor and creativity that developers can have with some of these things. Because I think some of that fun and playfulness has been lost over the years. And I think it deserves to kind of come back and kind of have a light shined on it again. You could do it in a fun, clever way. Disable achievements or something like that. Put up a little warning saying, hey, you can't get achievements while you're doing this. That kind of thing. That way people don't feel like they have to do this in order to be able to get the achievement, right? That way it doesn't kind of ruin that experience for people that are hardcore achievement hunters and things like that. So I think there's a place for it. And honestly, I would like to see things like mods be a little more common on consoles or be able to be downloaded, because I feel like if you're not going to give people cheat codes, at least being able to let them have mods or something like that is another kind of fun way of letting the player not only have some influence on the game,
but also build the community too, which is
and it builds a community.
They have to be very curated though.
Yeah, it would be, because the ones on PC can get kind of crazy. Like even the RE4 ones have already gotten a little risque very fast. Like day one, it was just ridiculous. And I knew that was going to happen. I mean, you got Street Fighter 5 skins out there for characters on PC. They're, they're not wearing anything. Let's be fair, they're not wearing anything anymore. So you'd have to curate those for console. I mean, PC, you gotta kind of take your shots at it, and I wouldn't allow mods, especially. I wouldn't allow for like online play, right? Because a lot of times people will use mods where people are solid, bright colors and stuff like that to make it higher visibility for shooters and stuff like that. And even though people could access that, not everybody's going to want to use those, and I feel like those are kind of unfair, right? So those would have to be disabled for doing online play. Same way with cheats, right? You'd want to disable those for online play and stuff like that. But otherwise, I think it's fine. As far as like the graphics stop, we'll talk about that one probably next one. For right now, I have a video that came out today on digitized sprites, which is kind of the origin of when that technique first appeared. That I thought was pretty interesting because it went back because the reason that one came about is because me and Mike were having a discussion on which came up first, which did it first, Pit Fighter or Mortal Kombat, and it was Pit Fighter, but there was something that did it way before Pit Fighter. So
I had forgotten about that. I forgot about that until I watched your video, and I'm like, "Holy crap! I totally forgot about that game."
Yeah, Pit Fighter, yeah.
Yeah. No. So pre-Pit Fighter.
Yeah. It was way before Pit Fighter.
Which game? I'm sorry.
You'll have to watch the video to see.
Yeah, watch the video.
Oh, okay. Cool beans.
I was about to say it was 1983 was the first use of it. Pit Fighter was like 1991. So it was almost 10 years earlier than the first major use that I can think of. You heard Shovel Knight was actually built in a 3D engine. That is bizarre. I would not think of Shovel Knight being built in a 3D engine because it looks like a 2D. It's basic to me. That game was Mega Man, with a shovel.
Yeah, but sometimes
which is great. I love it.
It was a way for them to do rotoscoping without doing rotoscoping.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
And some 3D engines
it makes total sense when you say it that way, but that's bizarre.
And apparently, Crowcast, I just saw that he can do a mean Sean Connery impression. So I kind of want to need that.
So yeah, check out the new video. I'll have another one on Wednesday. I'm gonna try to get content out for next week. I am on call this week, so it may be sketchy, and I know I have family coming in on Friday, so my time gets very limited this weekend, which is more normally when I do the bulk of my editing. So I have got all the scripts and everything written for the next two I want to do, and I've gotten the voice work done on one of them, but I don't have anything edited. So I'm going to endeavor to try to push through that the next couple of days and hopefully get those done and uploaded before my family hits. Otherwise, I may end up having to call an audible and like take the week off.
I mean, how dare life?
I know. Life's a thing. So there's times where I can do stuff and there's times where I can't. So if I can't do that, what I might do is take that week to try to start implementing what I've been meaning to do, which is shorts. So if you guys start seeing small short clips from me, that's me trying to find another avenue to kind of reach audiences.
As long as you don't wear shorts, because I have said a lot. Men should never wear shorts
right now, sir.
We're gonna have a long conversation after this. Not allowed, sir.
So anyway, that's some of the stuff that's coming up. I'll eventually be doing shorts. I have a video on the Master System. I want to do the rest of the voiceover work and get some of the editing done. Things have just been kind of busy and haven't been able to get to it. So I really do want to wrap that one up and get that one out to you guys and start working on another long-form script. The long-form scripts are taking longer than I would like to get out to you guys, so I apologize for that. I would like to be able to do this more frequently. I just haven't been able to really work that out yet.
Nick, if you ever feel bad about not being able to churn out content, I just want to remind you that my next episode, Maniac Manor, 5 years. Like, that's not like literally 5 years. So just think about that at least it's not taking actual years to complete.
Well,
what will amount to
be fair, my content is nowhere near the level of what you're trying to do.
It doesn't matter.
You're literally designing all the environments. I watched you take a 2D Castlevania game and make it look 3D.
Yeah, that is in it. Yeah,
it is pretty phenomenal, honestly, and I can't wait to see that.
Thanks. Yeah,
and I need to. I'm gonna have to sit down and just learn After Effects at some point. I am gonna have to take some.
Well, in Cinema 4D, you got a couple of years ahead of you, buddy.
I know. I got to take some serious time off at certain points and just go, look, I need to learn new skills, and then just sit down and learn the new skills.
And then have the joy of rendering, because even when you're done, then there's rendering.
Yeah, then you got to render it. I know. It's going to take forever. So, yeah. I used to use cheats all the time back in the mid-Oz with games like GTA, Mafia,
yes!
True Crime, and others. Absolutely.
Loved True Crime, by the way.
Yes.
Teenage years. Yeah, absolutely, man. So anyway, that's kind of where things are going this week. So hopefully I'll be able to keep up with content. If I can't, well, I mean, stuff happens. It's life. Hopefully you guys will kind of stick with me through it, and I can get a few small little tidbits out there that you guys will enjoy regardless. And kind of start getting. I do definitely want to do the shorts because I'm not looking to make money off this channel ever. I just don't see it replacing my normal job. But I do like engaging with more people. I do like seeing the channel grow, and I think I'm hitting a point where I need to do something slightly different for more people to find the content, so we can kind of grow the community a little bit. That's all. So it'll be.
Well, if you and Matthews team up, you could do a really cool BronyCon kind of podcast.
I could do BronyCon.
That'd be very different, and he'd be all about it. So I mean, I don't know.
Well, the reason I originally started this podcast was to do a team up with Matthews, and he's gone dark for a while. I imagine he's probably working on something frantically.
Well, I mean, I don't know, unicorn costume. I guess he's been working on. I don't know, he's cosplaying.
He might be. You never know. But anyway, thank you everybody who popped in, hung out, even you just came in for a couple of minutes and dropped a like. We always appreciate when you guys stop by. I've said it once before. I will keep saying it. It is absolutely what makes this work is you guys in the chat.
You have a great
guys
chat.
Make this as much as we do, if not more so. Your participation is key to everything you do, and it's one of the reasons we keep coming back every other week and we struggle for new ideas. It gives us another chance to entertain you guys. It gives us another chance to engage with you guys, and for you guys to engage with us. And we find that truly rewarding and a pleasure when you guys come back week after week. So thank you so much for doing that.
I just need, before you end, I just want to point out, I just saw Pace comment. If you think the pony video on Mr. Matthews was rough, just wait till you see the shorts video on Geeks. It's going to be grim.
Don't cover books YouTube case Demono has in our book discussions. Oh my God. Why am I not surprised? Crowcast, what I plan on doing, and I don't know if you've been following this channel or not, is kind of trying to lead people to the longer videos here.
How could you demonetize books?
I don't know. I don't know.
What are you giving away?
YouTube can demonetize anything they want to demonetize because they're weird that way. So, yeah. I'm drinking sweet tea. Love some sweet tea.
You just having some sweet tea.
Anyway, we're going to call it a night, guys. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Please check out these guys' channels. I don't know if it's in the description on this one, but you guys can easily find them by going to their channel links. I'll be updating this video as soon as we finish to get those in there, so that if you guys come back and watch this, they should be in the description below. I highly recommend you check out their content. They've all got great content. Matter of fact, if you guys aren't subscribed to each other in the chat, you guys should probably do that. Most of the people that come around here have channels of their own, and some pretty amazing stuff going on everybody's channel. But until next time, happy gaming.
Play on, gamers.